guys, welcome to the Nerdtacular channel's new show, Superfan Showcase, our very first episode. I would like to welcome our first superfan, Caleb. Welcome to the show, Caleb.
I'm so happy to be here.
We're excited to have you. And I want to welcome my very dear special friend, Jodi Rollins from Big Brother 14.
You're not going to kick me out now, are you?
No, absolutely not.
Too soon.
Justice for Jodi. Hashtag
Truly.
Justice for Jodi.
I think it's say that on my obituary someday because I'm never going back, apparently.
That you need to be back in there this season.
Amen.
That would have been nice. I do like David, but that would have been nice.
Yes, if they can have David back, they should have had you back.
Yeah, they didn't call. I would have picked up the call.
It's a travesty. It's a travesty. We have, guys, if you're watching, we have this here because Caleb absolutely loves Jodi.
I do.
Wow.
I do. I'm such a fan.
That's so nice.
I've told Ronnie for years, because we've been friends for many, many years. I said, if there's ever a second chance season and you are on with Jodi, if you evict her, I'm never speaking to you again.
That's fact. I can confirm that did happen. He said
he deserves it more than you, Ronnie, and you know it.
That's exactly what she said.
Here, too. I'm always afraid they'll be like, come back for, whatever season, and everyone in the household will be like, hee, wouldn't it be funny to boot her first again? Like, that's my nightmare.
No.
I would light the world on fire.
Too savage. Big Brother Twitter would burn the world to the ground, Jodi. They wouldn't have it. They wouldn't have it. Hashtag Justice for Jodi. Make a trend. So, Caleb, I can also confirm, Jodi, Caleb has informed me if we were ever play together, I have to fall on the sword for you. I have to get myself evicted so you can go.
I like this, Caleb. I like how you think, Caleb. Thank you.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. So, Caleb, my first question I have for you, and Jodi, I'm going to ask you the same question. When did you start watching Big Brother?
All right. I started watching Big Brother with season 2. Now, granted, I am 25 years old. I would have been, let's see, that was 2001. I was 6. So
wow,
I probably should not have been watching Big Brother at that age. I truly don't know why my parents let me. I guess I wandered into the room, and it would have premiered before I started first grade. And I've watched it pretty much every year since, and it was just like a family thing for us.
Well, my 3-year-old watches, so 6 is double his age. So, okay, and that was season. Did you 3?
2.
Season
2 was the first one I watched. Season 3 is when I really got super into it.
Okay, because in Jodi, you were a fan. You watched the show before being a house guest, just like I did. Have you always watched the show since season 1, or?
Yeah, I've watched every season except for Over the Top and last year.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the day I stumbled on to like episode 2. I was flipping through the channels of season 1, and I'm like, what is this? I like it. And I was hooked.
Yeah, that's me. Since season 1. And those of you watching, if you haven't seen season 1, you really do need to go back and watch it, I think. But it's really different, isn't it, guys?
So,
oh, yeah.
I liked it better, though.
Really?
I mean, something, but I like the age span. I like that there was people from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s from all walks of life. Less attractive, thin, fat, tall, short, whatever. And it was seeing how people could click together or not click together.
Right.
Whereas now it's just 20-somethings, a sprinkling of 30-somethings, and a couple of 40-year-olds that they think are old people. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's true. And that was when reality TV was really in its infancy. So it was like the Wild West of reality TV. You're figuring it out. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Caleb, you've been watching a long time. We've all been watching it pretty much since the same time, So, what is your favorite season and why?
This is a question that I grapple with all the time because there are so many good seasons. But I think just due to my experience, I've only seen 2 seasons after they aired. I stopped watching around I didn't watch 9 because I was in school because they did it during the winter. And then I think I was just kind of, even as a kid, I just missed 10. And so I didn't see 9 and 10, and I started watching again with 11 because this weirdo from my hometown named Ronnie was going to be on that season. And so I didn't see 9 and 10 as they were airing. Then I went back afterwards. I think I was in college and watched 10, just watched 9 for the first time. And so I think getting to watch 10 long after the fact, it was like a hidden season, one that like I didn't get to see as it was airing. And the fact that it's a fantastic season with amazing characters all the way from the beginning until the end, to have that as like almost, it felt like a secret menu item. Like, this is the season I haven't seen before. It was a really awesome experience getting to watch it. And I just recently rewatched 2 through the beginning of 14, then the new season started. And so getting to rewatch 10 again, you can't go wrong. You've Rennie, Michelle, Libra, Dan, everyone is pulling their weight. Everyone is a character, and you can't go wrong there.
That's true. So, Jodi, and you're allowed, of course, to say your own season, if that's how you feel. What is your favorite season as a super fan of the show?
You know, for the longest time, strangely enough, it was season 9. I know that's the season everybody hates, but the feeds were spectacular.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They were craziness. People didn't hold back. Chelsea, James, Maddie, everybody. It was just a free-for-all. It wasn't good TV, like family television.
It was definitely TV.
It was definitely R-rated, but I just felt like no one was there because they wanted to be an Instagram celebrity. They were there and they just let loose. And there's probably never going to be a season like that, because everybody's aware they're on television and there's cancel culture, and so you can't just sort of be as free. So that's what I liked about 9. But same thing, season 10 had some of my favorite moments, especially the birthday party with Keisha. I mean, I'll never forget that. I mean, you can't write that stuff. Everyone's fighting and screaming, and who wants cake?
Yes.
I'll never forget it.
Oh, man. Okay, so everyone, if you're watching this, obviously I'm going to guess you're watching Big Brother 22 as well. I remember when I was watching them give Kaser his birthday cake. I don't know. Did you watch that on the feeds, guys? When
No.
I didn't. I missed that.
Yeah. Keisha was about to be evicted. I think this was like a day before her eviction or whatever. And I remember thinking, Keisha, please grab that cake, throw it, and ask who wants cake. Please.
Yes.
I
Full
need
circle.
you to do it. Please.
Keisha.
Oh, we miss you, Keisha. Gone too soon from Big Brother 22.
Amen.
You know, I think my favorite season is Big Brother 6. I really love 6.
But I always remember the names, not the numbers.
That was Janelle's original season.
Yeah, Janelle's original.
It was. Oh, okay.
With
Power
the-
of Secrets.
Oh, Howie.
Yeah, I like the secret partners, and I think I loved it because there were lots of fights. The feeds were really good. And also, I liked the new house. Is that weird? That excited me.
It's a character on the show, if you think about it.
Yeah.
The house has its own personality. You know, I always think of the third room as the Splish Splash room. Was that from your season?
It was, yes. It was our
It'll
Splish Splash
always
room.
be the Splish Splash room. It's such a dumb name. God bless Lydia, but it stuck with me. I'm like, okay, which room is that? Okay, that's the Splish Splash room, no matter what season. So, homage to Lydia.
Yes. It's just I love the house when it's really vibrantly decorated, and I love that they had a hidden room, the gold room. Like, I think one of the most iconic moments, which is going to lead us into our next question here. I think for me, one of the most iconic moments is like Rachel sneaking into the gold room with what was her name? Sarah? Yes.
Jennifer, I think it was Jennifer was asleep.
Oh, okay. It was
Like
Jennifer.
right next to her. It was either Jennifer, Sarah, or Maggie.
Yeah, but someone was asleep. The room that was the first. It was the first bedroom there in the house, Jodi, and but the back bedroom there and the first bedroom was all one big room.
Yeah.
and everyone stayed in one huge room. Well, this room was hidden, and two people, or at least someone, was asleep there in the bedroom, and Rachel had to sneak in through the wall into the secret room while they were asleep.
Oh, I don't even remember that. I'm sure if I saw it again, I would go,
Oh,
"Oh, this."
yeah. So, Jodi, I'm just going to say that's mine. Jodi, when you think back on the show, what do you think is the most iconic moment as a super fan for you?
Gosh, I mean, other than the Keisha and the birthday cake, I mean, I think of some of the competitions, like the grueling competitions. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Kaser.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember there was a competition where he had to hold his hand on something and not let go. That was great. I
The
mean,
pressure cooker. That's what they called it.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember that. And then there's like hilarious ones where like, Jerry fell backwards into the pool. It's just, I mean, God bless him. Glad he didn't break a hip. The things that I like are not the things that are repeated relentlessly. Like, floaters gets your life vest. I don't need to hear that anymore. It was like, okay, great. What was that fight with Brendan? The whole
Neanderthal?
yes,
Neanderthal.
that whole thing.
Yes.
I mean, that's classic Big Brother. That was like one of the best fights ever.
Yeah.
It's Neanderthal, not Neanderthal. It's just there's so many great moments.
Oh yeah,
really.
I agree. What about you, Caleb?
I think when I think most iconic Big Brother moment that immediately pops to mind, I always start people, if they want to start watching Big Brother, with 6. And there's no better encapsulation of the spirit of season 6 than Janelle winning that double eviction after Kaser was backstabbed by Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with Janelle being back in the house, that clip's just been circulating, and I watch it in full every single time. Like, I know what happens. I know Janelle screaming at Jennifer, "Give me that key!" And like Howie picking her up, and they're just screaming, "Pack your bags, Jenny!" If I am ever blessed with the opportunity to play Big Brother, I desperately hope they put someone in that house with me named Jennifer, so that when I vote them out in the DR, I can say, "Pack your bags, Jenny. I vote to evict her." Like, I just want that moment. Like, Janelle has been such an influential figure in my upbringing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Jodi, I told him this, that whole thing where Julie asked Janelle who she's going to nominate, and she goes, Maggie. She says that way.
Jennifer.
I don't know if you've seen my Facebook post. My son, who's 3, is just now finally starting to really talk. And he heard Janelle go, Maggie. And he goes, Maggie. And I was like, that's one of the first I think that's actually the first real name he said ever was Maggie from BB6.
Well, the thing with there's many things with Janelle. One of the things that I love about her as a competitor is that, like, I don't know if it was on the feeds or on the live show just this season, where she said, well, why are we doing what the head of household wants? Mm-hmm. We always played like we want the opposite. Like, let's think, people. Like, the idea that Memphis is like, do this or else, like, him threatening me would not have gone well with me at all. I would play my, suite? What's that thing called? The VIP
safety suite.
Safety suite when I decide to. You can't dictate so that you can be safe. Like, that whole thing rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I like Janelle's like, I'm not here to play his game for him,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and that's on the feeds and in this season, I think it's interesting. I think you're really seeing a lot of the new school versus the old school. And for me, I don't know about you guys, and this is a question that I wasn't prepared to ask, but where do you guys think the delineation between new and old school falls? For me,
13.
I think... You think 13? Interesting. Why do you think 13?
I just feel like that, like, Rachel Riley changed the game forever.
Yeah.
Like,
okay,
how
that's fair.
people play, the emotions, for good, for bad, some of both probably, but it was almost like the show exploded with her emotions and all these fights and all these young people. And from a producer perspective, they were like, wow. if we get these 20 somethings, they'll just go at it. And then they just dumped having anybody go older. And there were different kinds of fights with older people, but 20 somethings, like, they just don't hold back because they don't have the experience, they don't have the wisdom, they don't know how to control their temper. So anything before then, I think, was like more old school.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, what was 12? Who was in 12?
Rachel was in 12.
Okay,
Rachel was first season.
Maybe I'm thinking 12 and 13. So then maybe season 11. What was in season 11?
That
Nothing
was
important.
No, that was Jordan, where I was in there with Jordan 1. I think, for me, I think the delineation is really 16. I think maybe 15 or 16 and up.
I would argue 15 because that's strategically when you first see the common thing of, in that first or second week, a giant, like, 6 to 8 person alliance forms.
Oh.
They roll until they inevitably fall apart, because that started with 15 and that fell apart really quick, and then 16 it happens again with the bomb squad, and that sort of created a new strategic ideology where you've got that Janelle conversation of like, well, why do we care what the HOH wants to do? Because people are now playing in this mindset of, I have to stick with my big group, when it's just not as entertaining as it used to be.
No, it isn't, and it's unfortunate.
And that's interesting too, because that's true. That whole, like, huge alliance kind of really, that is when that started. I never even realized that or thought about it, but you're right.
I think it was the Moving Company was the name in 15.
That was the name,
Moving
yeah.
Company.
I remember
You had
that now.
McRae, you had
Spencer was in it, wasn't he?
Yes, McRae and Spencer, and then
There were so many great jokes about that. They'd be like, yeah, he's moving out of the moving company. Or...
Yeah, I've tried to erase most of 15 from my mind, so there's some spots that I'm missing.
15 was entertaining, but like in a car wreck sense.
Yeah.
Like, you can't look away. I mean, I'll never, that's another iconic moment when, oh my God, what was his name? Picked up, I can't remember her name. Oh my gosh, the other black girl. He picked her up, the black guy picked up the black girl. Sounds terrible. I can't remember their names. This is how you know I'm old. And like pulled her out because it was like she was digging her own grave because it was so painful to watch. Wow, I don't remember either of their names.
Howard and Candace.
Thank you. When Howard picked her up and just, that was iconic because, and then what was the name of the girl with the blonde hair? Thank you, since you know. Erin. Like, the stuff she was saying was just so painful.
Yeah,
and
it really was.
It wasn't about the game, and like, it's not the same as if someone just calls you fat or ugly or stupid. It's like your being. And so it's so hard to watch. And for them, it was just another day of fighting, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That, to me, was an iconic moment.
Oh, I'll never forget when Erin finally got evicted. Finally. I was sitting there, and my wife said to me, she was walking out the door, and Michelle said, get ready for the most awkward interview in Big Brother history. Between... I mean...
Really awkward.
But
yeah, especially with the comments that Erin made specifically about Helen being Asian.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you've got Julie Chen sitting right there. And that moment of, I remember watching it as it happened, where Julie says, let's read back some of the things you said in the house. Where you knew we were eating good because Julie's not going to hold back on this girl.
Oh, yeah.
You hear crickets, like, rub their legs together. It was silent.
And, you know, from having done theater and speech and debate, this is not something, I mean... Anyone who's done even radio, Jodi, you have a lot of history in radio, you've told me. And, you know, you can tell when someone gets that cotton mouth. Like when, you know what I mean? When their mouth goes dry. Erin had that. I remember she got it the moment Julie started reading back those comments. And I was like, oh, man. Because you could tell Erin thought, well, maybe I can get around this. And Julie, like you said, was like, no, I got all the receipts. Let's talk about this. Wow. So we're all watching Big Brother 22. And I have, as a super fan, well, first, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Jodi, as a super fan yourself,
yes,
what was it like for you? Because I know my experience, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited were you going through the casting process that you were like, oh my gosh, this show, I'm going further to get on this show that I've watched?
Well, it was such a whole, like, if I didn't just have the regular straight line, nothing about my Big Brother experience was normal. I mean, I don't remember what the short version of a long story was. I mean, yes, I was so excited. I knew, I was like, I told my husband I was a newlywed, and I'm like, I love the show. I just have a feeling I'm going to get on. And he was like, okay, right. And when they called me, I was like, okay, I knew it. And they called and they're like, for callbacks, and went through that whole thing with all the testing, which is a big pain in the ass, but still you're like, it just is a literal dream come true. And it's so exciting to be behind the scenes and meet these producers. And it's just like, I mean, I used to dream about the show, not like dream, like maybe someday, like sleep and think about this house. Like, what does the ceiling look like? Because they don't show the ceiling. Like, what is it, like, as you know, Ronnie, it's shaped totally different.
Yes.
Than on TV. Like, it's just
It's
shifted.
super tall. And it's super tall.
Yeah, and I was like, so all of that, and then long story short, they told me after all this stuff, they're like, yeah, you didn't make it, we want to make you an alternate. And I was like, I can't give up my whole life and my job and my world to be an alternate, which I'll probably not even get picked, because they never use alternates. They have used one, as far as I know, in the history of the show, or at least back then. And so I said, I can't. I might lose my job. I can't be an alternate. And they're like, okay. And then
my heart's
Friday
racing.
Before I was supposed to go to sequester on Monday, they called and they said, hey, are you still interested in coming on the show? I'm like, yes. They're like, something may have happened. We may be able to get you on the show. Hang tight. I think 6 hours went by, and I was just like, oh my God, just tell me. I called them. She's like, not yet. They're still working on some stuff. And then she's like, you want to get on the show? And they're like, go buy these clothes. They can't have labels. So I had to run and buy all this crap. And then that Monday, they came and they shot everything, when you get your key, in my case. Wasn't really. It was an invitation. And then went on the show. But I mean, yeah, everything about it was so exciting. And I'm like, this is what all these people before me went through, and this is what the house looks like. And then it quickly went, wah, wah, wah.
That makes me so even more sick to my stomach for you, Jodi. Yeah. Seriously. Oh. So
yeah, it was so painful to watch, because knowing the process that everyone goes through of semifinals and finals and the testing and how exhausting it is. And I didn't understand the scale of it as I was watching 14. But then for that, night one evictions are just pointlessly cruel. They're so incredibly cruel.
If I had
and for
any idea, too.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's you.
Yeah,
they didn't do that.
For it to happen to you was awful to see, especially as a fan of the show. Like,
I don't think they should do that. I think none of the fans think that they should, but at least people now know that that's a possibility. That wasn't a possibility at all.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, if you guys remember, I left in my socks because I was like, this isn't happening. There's a twist. I'm going right back, right? And they're like, nope, you're going to sequester. And I'm like, what? Am I coming back after that? They're like, you never know. So I was in sequester for another week thinking, all right, I liked Shane. I want to align with him. I didn't like Danielle. I liked this person. This person blew me off.
Wow.
Kind of work with. And then they were like, all right, here's your basket that you would have gotten if you had won HOH, and go do your press. You're going home. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's how it happened.
That is, Jodi, I am so sorry. Oh my gosh. But, you're right. You were the first that they ever did that to. And I think, as a super fan myself that is now a former house guest, I was concerned about that in sequester. I remember thinking, they're not going to do some twist where someone's leaving before... See, I thought they were going to have them vote one of us off before we could even talk to each other. Because remember season 10, they voted for HOH before they could even talk. They had to vote for HOH before they even moved in, just based off of looks. And so my brain being, I guess, twisted, I thought maybe this season they'll have us vote someone off based on looks before we can even talk to each other.
Well, that's the thing too. I always think that if you're going to kick somebody out the first night, like God forbid if that's what you have to do, then let them compete. Let them compete for veto. Let them get voted out. I didn't get to compete for. There was no veto. I didn't get voted out. They just were like, Dan. And he was like, you know, so there was nothing. Like, I've never officially been voted out of the house. And I think it's those kind of things that I don't like. The plus side to all of it is there's nothing on the internet that I'm embarrassed about. I mean, there's some bad pictures that I could do without, but there's nothing that I said or did that anyone can hold against me because I live a public life with I have a company and I do events and PR and marketing. So there's nothing that people can Google about me and I go, oh shoot, before, you know, so I left with goodwill and that's the plus side. You know, not everyone can say that.
No, certainly not true. You know, that's another thing. I think a lot of people now are savvy, and maybe it's because the internet is not in its infancy, but they're now savvy to having their history, is that what I want to say, scrubbed from the internet before going on the show.
Yeah.
Smart.
So how long were you in the house?
So I was in there for 6 hours, and then when I got kicked out, they took me to a sequester place, like a house. I didn't know where I was. I don't know if you've ever been to second sequester, but you still have no keys, no driver's license, no credit card, no money. You're just there with a babysitter. And like, if you want an Advil, you have to ask permission. There's no TV. I just watched like a bunch of DVDs and swam in the pool in the backyard. Like you color. It's so boring. It makes you mental. So then the next day I went back to take pictures for that swimming pool backyard picture.
Whoa. Hold on. So you I'm processing. Caleb, talk about this because I'm processing this.
Yeah.
So they had you like go back into the backyard with everybody else, or did they have you do it separately?
No, it was humiliating because you're instantly worthless. That's the thing that I think, Ronnie, you can talk to, but people don't realize, like, even the time when they announced that somebody was going to have to go home tonight after our team lost, and the time I was kicked out was maybe 40 minutes, and you feel the air suck out of that room. And the energy just, it's like you don't matter. And no one knows what that's like in their life, because if you have issues or concerns, you have your friends, you have your family, you can read, you can listen to music, you can eat, you can smoke, you can drink, you can do drugs, whatever it is. But when you're in that house, it literally is like you're instantly a nothing. Yes. Because I could tell it was going to be me, because I'm old and fat and ugly. I don't think that about myself. That's what they said. They were like, she's old, she's useless, she's fat, she doesn't matter. I can't do anything with her. So you feel everyone pulling away from you, except for, believe it or not, Willie. People hated that guy. He was so nice to me. You know, Kara was nice to me because she was kind of like, am I going home? Some of the others, not so much. But then, so when you go back in the backyard, I'm in the wall of the backyard, and they're like, just wait here. We have to organize some stuff. And I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. I get to see what it's like in the wall. And then they're like, come out. And then I go out, and everyone's in the backyard, and they're like, Jodi? And then like Ian came up to me, and a few other people were kind of like, oh yeah, like, you know, because I'm nothing. I don't matter.
Did they tell them they couldn't talk to you and you couldn't tell them things, or?
They don't say anything. I mean, you're just there, and they're like, all right, let's hide her in the back, kind of thing. I mean, that's how they treated you. They put the girls in the bikinis with the big boobs up front, and then tried to hide. If you look at the pictures, I'm like hidden.
Oh, I'm in the back of our photo. I'm in the back. I get it.
So it's so demoralizing. So first, you're kicked out of this game that you worked your whole life. I mean, I left there crying the first night. I'm in the limo, just sobbing, because I was like, I'm a joke. I'm an embarrassment. I got first one off. This never happened. I thought no one would ever remember me or my name. They would just laugh. And then you have to go back, and people are like, glad that's not me. And they don't treat you like you are worth anything, because now you're not in the game. So you're officially worthless. They don't know me. So they hadn't established a relationship enough to care. So I don't matter. So I'm just in there, smiling for the beach photo, and they're like, "Yay, throw the beach ball around," and they're like, "Hold the top, we gotta change some stuff. Go sit over there," and you're just sitting there, and people are like, "So where did you go? What happened to you?" So you just feel like this awkward, useless nothing.
Oh.
And then they're like, "All right, we're done, Jodi. Let's go. Everybody else go and have fun. We have pizza in the house or whatever." And I'm just like, I'm supposed to be with them. It was horrible. And then I go right back to the little house. Again, to this day, I don't even know where that house was. You're just back in sequester with your babysitter. So it was a total of 8 hours, the 2-hour photo thing and 6 hours in the house.
Wow.
To speak, Caleb, on something that Jodi mentioned a bit ago, tell me if you feel this is accurate, Jodi. What I think you're referring to is when there's this moment in the house when something like that happens, and when you're being targeted, it's like a total black hole opens up inside the house. It's devoid of any positivity. It's devoid. It's literally like there's a T-Rex there, and everyone's like, "Don't move. They will see you. Don't make eye contact with anyone. It could be you. Don't talk to anyone. It could be you."
Like you have the plague. You have coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. So, Caleb, as a super fan watching this, put yourself in that scenario. Cameron, as we know, 19? Yes, Cameron was on 19, right?
Yep.
At least Cameron got to campaign, Jodi. You did, isn't that how that went down, Caleb? Did they?
Yeah, they had multiple phases of first you could have gotten one of the friendship bracelets from Paul. The people who didn't get that competed in a competition of holding on to a snake and then pick an apple when you go, and then from there was 3 people on the block, and they said the 3 people can choose a vote or a competition, and they left it up to a vote, and they voted him out.
See, at least that's at least that's a vote. At least that's a vote.
Glenn had a competition, multiple competitions where their team could have won safety, but they lost, and then an individual competition, and then David had the competition as well.
Wow. Honestly,
It's too, because then I had to go home and listen to people talk about me, and Danielle said I said things that I never said, and I'm just like, what? And then Will, it was nice to be sort of kept alive, but he made a caricature out of me, and it was like, "I ain't nobody's mama," or whatever, and I'm like, I never said that. I don't sound like that, so how is that even me? And so you have to laugh because, Will's a really funny guy, and I really liked him. But I'm like, and then every time someone would be like, "Oh, on Twitter, did you hear they said this about you in the house?" Like any negative thing. And I'm just like, I never said that. I was there for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden I'm this horrible person who said terrible things and played the race card. And that's what she said too. So I'm just like, what? There was no cards to play as long as I was in there. So that wasn't fun.
That's insane. Well, Jodi, I really, really hate that you went through that. I hate that as a fellow superfan that got on the show. I know what a dream. Caleb, as a superfan who wants to be on the show one day, you also would know the pain of at that point getting in there, your dream comes true. And then there's the moment where you're like, this is being stolen from me. It's being taken away. It's going to end. And it's sad. It's and you have people like, I'm not going to name names on my season, but who are recruited. They find them. And it doesn't mean to them what it means to us. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think too, I knew that if I made it past the first week, which I believed that I would have gone further, because the way people were playing the game then was the same thing that got me kicked out, which was if you seemed kind of worthless, you sort of faded into the background because you weren't a threat, and so you could stay. And that's why I went in that way. I mean, I could have worn sexy clothes and done my makeup, but I really wanted to be understated so that I could blend in and be seen as not a threat at all. I mean, was I in the best shape of my life? No, but I am athletic. I run 2 marathons, I snow ski, I do all these things. And I was like, let me just look like kind of nothing special. And then they were like, who can we get rid of? Someone who's kind of nothing special. Her.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait, that would have worked for me through the game, but it worked against me for this weird, weird twist.
Well, Jodi, in a hypothetical world, if I had been a coach, who I would have, and I had to get rid of someone, who I would have gotten rid of? Mm-hmm. Ian.
Well, it's
sorry,
funny.
Ian Stans. I like Ian. He's a great player. But that's why I would have gotten rid of him. I would have been like, he's a gamer. Immediately, I recognized that about him.
Dan did tell me after it was all over at the wrap party, he said, why I got rid of you was because I needed to be able to control people. And I knew I could control 2 20-year-old girls, and I could not control you. And, yay, I guess he was right, because I wasn't going to be in there to play somebody else's game. And I think, watching like how everything went down and how people would sort of regurgitate it back to me. They're like, oh, it was just that bed competition was probably hard for you. I'm like, it was hard for everyone. It's one of those things where the competition looks really easy on TV, and our team was the only team with all girls. So we had the odds stacked against us. Every other team had a guy, and I'm 20 years older than the other 2 girls on my team, and I still did the best I could do. And so it was like everything was there working against me being on this show. So I figure, I don't know if you believe in God, some higher power, there was a reason. Maybe I would have broken my neck on a competition and been paralyzed. I don't know. It's just every single thing that made it so I should not have been there happened.
Jodi, so. I know the reason, Jodi, and I think Caleb's going to agree with me here. The reason is because there's going to be a second chance this season. You're going to be on it. I'm apparently going to be on it, is what the universe has decided, so I can sacrifice myself so you can go on to win. That's what it's about.
That's the gospel.
Yeah, well, that sounds nice, but apparently I'm going to need a walker by the time I'm on the show.
So
my Geritol on its people.
Jodi, for everyone watching, how can fans of the show keep up with you and what you're doing?
Well, I would love that. I appreciate it. Thanks for asking. So they can find me on Instagram. It's just my name, Jodi Rollins, or on Twitter at Jodi's Box, which was a pun I started before Big Brother, which was just about mailbox. And then it became sort of this dirty thing, but at Jodi's Box, Jodix, Jodibox. Or, not Facebook. Facebook I just keep for my friends and family. I do have a fan page, JodiBB14, and I'm going to be starting a podcast this fall. So
there we go.
All the information will be on my Instagram. I haven't named it yet, but we're going to talk about reality TV, documentaries, pop culture, a little politics, but in a thoughtful and fun and entertaining way.
That's important right now. Thank you for doing that, Jodi, because not to go on a tangent here, because anyone who follows my social media knows I talk about politics a fair amount, but that's important. It's important to talk about that because I think we need to get anyone and everyone that is of legal age to vote involved.
Yes, please vote.
And even more importantly, beyond you should be voting, be an informed voter.
Yes, that is very important.
Yes.
You can just Google the top 10 best things about Biden, the top 2 best things about Donald Trump. Whatever.
That's a generous 2.
Yes. Because you just have to know, because otherwise,
That's about it. No. If you're conservative, you probably like him. So there's something positive.
Can't relate.
Vote, vote, vote. I'm going to get a big thing to say. For future shows, I'm going to try. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. I'll figure out. I'm going to put a link to how you can register for your state to vote. Click on it.
Vote.org.
Yep.
That's great.
I'll link to that. Vote.org. Make sure you register to vote. Caleb, I want to end with this question, and I want to end with this for everyone.
Okay.
what has Big Brother meant to you?
Ooh, it's interesting because I was thinking about this the other day, that I've connected with so many awesome people, whether in my real life or online, through our shared love for Big Brother, which is interesting compared to, as a kid, it was what set me apart. You think there were other kids on the playground talking about Big Brother 4 as it was airing? Like, no. And so I was alone in that because it was this weird, it made me weird. It made me a weird kid. And that's, fair. And so it sort of set me apart, but it also, I think, set me to be a more empathetic person, because through Big Brother, I got to, I guess, meet different kinds of people that I never would have met in, small town West Virginia. I got to see the Marcelluses and Danielle and Janelle and Howie and all these people, to where as I grew up, and especially as I grew up and started realizing that I was a gay man, that it wasn't as scary to me, because through Big Brother, I got to see different types of people from the queer community living their lives and thriving. I got to see Bunky to Marcellus to Dustin, and I had these frames of reference that, like, these people's lives look different from one another, so who am I to place myself in a box because of this thing about me? So I think it helped make me an understanding person towards others, and as well, it helped me understand myself, which is probably thinking way too deep about a show where they wear banana costumes. But that's what I'm going with.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, Caleb. That seriously, and that makes me happy to hear, because, like he said, we are from the same city, and we don't see representation or diversity here a whole lot. And I mean, it's getting better. It's getting better.
Yeah, that was one thing that I definitely felt like, I thought, this will be great. I will go on this show and I can show that there are other types of Black women, because Big Brother for the very longest time had one type, and we all know, in general, not completely, there are some exceptions, but I just was happy to show that we're different. We're all different types of people and not monolithic. So, yeah.
Well, I believe in my heart, Jodi, you're going to get your second chance one day. I do. And it'll be before I get mine. And I'm okay with that, because, Jodi, your experience was taken from you through no fault of your own. So, yep. All right, fans, our hashtag for this is going to be #Justice for Jodi.
Amen.
Make it trend.
That's nice.
Caleb, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Super fans, I'm going to be tweeting from my Twitter account at Ronnie Talbot up there soon how you can apply to be considered for future episodes of Superfan Showcase, because I really want to provide an opportunity for all superfans to get together and express what Big Brother's meant to them, because I think that's kind of lacking right now, but I think it's important to have. And Jodi, I seriously want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I have treasured your friendship since we first spoke after you got home from sequester. I don't know if you remember that, but I was so excited to talk to you. I was so excited. And I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to Caleb, because he adores you. He thinks you're just the bee's knees.
Yes, justice for Jodi. The original robbed G.Otis.
Yes!
Yes. And that's the thing. I do remember that, Ronnie. You and a few others, like, Danny reached out to me, and I was just like, oh my God, it's Danny on the phone. And she was like, you got screwed. And she didn't have to do that, and you didn't have to reach out. So that's one thing no one, not CBS, not anyone can ever take from me, is meeting the people that I watched. I mean, I was so heartbroken when your season, when you were locked up in the HOH room. I mean, that's another iconic moment, actually. So I know we're wrapping up, but so, of course, I am so grateful for the experiences that were positive and meeting amazing people and fans like Caleb. So that is the best of all of this that no one can take away from me.
It is. Well, I think that's the best moment we can end it on. I mean, Jodi, I'm going to probably think about this the rest of the night now. Really, seriously, I'm going to be thinking Jodi needs to get back in there. So,
Nice.
all right, guys, we're going to head out. Make sure you hit the follow button and subscribe to the channel. And if you like the video, give it a like. I hope you do. And comment with other people you would maybe like to see on a different show. I'm going to go ahead and plug this now. I have another show I'm going to do called Where Are They Now? Digging into Big Brother's history, finding where some of the house guests from past seasons that have fallen off the radar have gone.
Ooh, I want to watch that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So comment some of the people you would like for me to track down and talk to, because Jodi, as you know, not everyone is a member of the community. Some people are like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do reality events or anything. I'm just going to fade away, you know?
Cassie, I loved Cassie. If you could find her.
Oh,
My
I
favorite.
actually think I could find Cassie. I think I have her phone number. Actually, I'd have
She
to
was
look.
my favorite. Loved her.
Yeah.
Loved her.
All right. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you on the next episode.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Mhm.